Good morning, friends. How is everybody doing this morning? We're back. Morning coffee for the soul on Sundays at 8:30 in the morning here at Kardec Radio. It'll be streamed on Kardec Radio as well, not just here on Facebook. The problem I'm having is I just received the new password and I'm trying to figure it out, but it was my fault. I just looked it up on the radio on my email, and I didn't have time. But I will definitely stream this on Kardec Radio because it is where we should be listening as well. If you're driving, if you're away, that'll be a great way to get some learning here that I have learned and I'm trying to pass on to you all. Anyway, my name is Debora Beldowicz. I will be here on Kardec Radio for the next 13 weeks. That will coincide with Ben Franklin's 13 Virtues. Inagra's Val is doing, she's already here saying good morning to us. Good morning to you. We'll have some people here joining us. I know it's Sunday. I know it's very early. I myself don't look my best on Sunday mornings, but that's okay. We're not here to look at me. We're here to try to learn what we can from this lesson. So why are we talking about Ben Franklin for the next 13 days? 13 Sundays. Well, he was a fantastic man. He was a man that he was a scientist, he was a diplomat, he was an inventor, he was just everything. He was a politician. He was really a man who liked to, above all of that, he was not a man that called himself a virtuous man and a man that was a perfect person, but he had something. He was a trying man. He was always studying. He was always trying to better himself. In a way, he was always reinventing himself. He was never idle. He retired at age 42 because he already figured out that he had a lot of money. He didn't need any more, but he needed to continue to work. And he worked towards the betterment of society. So we have to give him a lot of credit. And Ben was very interesting because he made this, he was helped with, but he had this list of what was considered to be 13 things that we should work on ourselves, 13 things that he thought that he wanted to grade himself at the end of every week. So he pretty much drew a kind of a graph, kind of like a check, note book. And he would write the 13 virtues on one side, and then he would write the day of the week, and he would kind of like evaluate himself. And how did he do on this? How did he do on that? From 0 to 10, how would you do on temperance? How would you do on work? How would you do on all different things? And it's very similar to Spiritism on question 919 when we were asked how to get better, how to really grow. And St. Augustine always said at the end of the day, kind of go back and look at your day and see the things that you regret doing, see the things that you could have been doing better. So it coincides with Ben's idea of trying. Now, another thing that's very interesting is the concept, and we're going to the Spirits book, the concept of, and I took a little notes because there is one poem that I want to read. Not a poem, I'm sorry, but one writing. First, on the Spirits book, we always look at how can I be a better person? How can I be a better spiritist? How can I be a better individual and grow? And it's not in the Spirits book, but sorry to say, it's on chapter 17 on the gospel according to Spiritism. And the gospel is very clear to say that a true spiritist, what we're trying, right, to grow, he's recognized by his own moral transformation. And then also the efforts that they make to be just to dominate their bad instincts, to be a better person, to dominate those things that would steer them away from the right path. So being a spiritist doesn't mean to be a perfectly moral person. Of course, that's our goal, to be Jesus-like. But a spiritist person is just a person that truly want their moral transformation. And we see that with Ben Franklin. He was trying and he knew he wasn't perfect. So some people will say, well, he had this and he was this and he wore all these different masks. And well, he did, but he was always trying to transform. He was trying to be a better person. And that's what we're trying to do. And he was also trying to kind of, dominate some of his bad instincts. Some he was successful, some he wasn't. And that's what we're all about. Let's try to acknowledge our own instincts, the things that are not on the right path, and try to dominate them. So Ben's very first effort, his very first virtue that he was considering was temperance. Now, what is temperance, right? When we talk to someone and they have a bad temper, or when we have to temper something, what is temperance? Why is temperance so important? I'm going to read to you, and that's why I have my little paper here, because I already brought what being a spiritist is from the chapter one, from the gospel. Now I'm bringing from Harvest of Light. Harvest. Good morning, George. I see George here too. We see Harvest of Light, and there's a chapter there, 112, that talks about science and temperance. This is what they said. Now, I translated quickly, so I'll just say kind of Google Translate, but next time, again, we'll try to bring a little reading from everywhere before we go into the psychological aspect of it. So those with knowledge need to be sober, need to be, right? It's not worth knowing if you're going to do is cause harm. Many people at the first contact with source of knowledge, they assume contradictory attitudes. They impose ideas, striking here and there. Similar expositors of knowledge do nothing more than disturbance. Now let's stop these little pieces and really think about it. Those people who are learning or they know, sometimes instead of sharing their knowledge, they disturb the peace because they have no temperance. They want to show off. That is why science, again, now reading, that is why science and its world originate from intemperance in those who have learned something. Oh, I'm sorry. That is why science, in its various expression, gives strong hand to ruinous and useless conflicts in politics, philosophy, and religion. Very interesting, because it says that in various expression, because once you know, when you have the science, if you have no temperance, again, almost all the imbalances in the world originate from intemperance and those who have learned something. So it's not enough to learn. You have to have temperance. You have to have moderation. You have to understand a middle ground there on how that information is portrayed. Continuing Harvest of Light, and this is by Chico Xavier, by the Spirit Emmanuel. Let us not forget, all science, from the lowest place to the highest place on earth, requires ponderation. The men of the clean, hygienic service needs temperance, so that his broom is not subject to stumbling. As much as the man of government needs sobriety in the laying of the laws, lest the spirit of the multitude be disturbed. Let us not forget that temperance, in order to achieve the desired success, cannot be exempt from patience, as patience, in order to prove itself, cannot escape pity, which is always fraternal understanding and contestation. So for you to be a person exercising temperance, you need your brother, your sister is patience. If you know anything in life, do not rush to teach it as if tyrannizing, belittling others' achievements. That's another thing. How many of us, when we learn something or when we believe we know, we tyrannize others because we want to pretty much shove it down their throat. We want to make sure they know it. And a lot of times we want to make sure that they know we know. And then we begin to belittle them. We begin to make people feel that they know less. How terrible is that? So you can have all the science, but if you have no way to to give your knowledge, you become a tyrant. If you know anything in life, do not rush to teach it. We knew that. Now, knowing is not everything. It is necessary to act. And for the sake of doing well, no man shall dispense calmness and serenity, indispensable to success, nor disdain cooperation, which is the beloved companion of love. So it doesn't matter if you know, it's what you do. If you talk the talk, make sure you walk the walk. And we see a lot of people talking the talk, not walking the walk. And temperance is that perfect balance. Hence, temperance is defined as the moderation, really the restraint. When you have the restraint from really retaliation or arrogance. And look how beautiful it is, because when you restrain yourself from being arrogant, from being really from your excesses, you're exercising patience, you're exercising. So it's such a beautiful virtue. When we look at when we look at the psychological aspect, let's look at the psychological aspects of temperance, because it's a word we don't use too much, but we always say when someone has a temper, when someone cannot find that moderation. You see the connection between the two of them in what Spiritism is all about, and being a good Spiritist, about really trying and really reaching that moral ground and fighting these bad inclinations every time that you have this thing pulling you to really like just let go to your instincts, and you know it's not the right thing. You kind of fight that back. So being a Spiritist means you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall. You're going to do all this. And given the appearance of perfection, it's really being not just a tyrant, because you're expecting others as well to be like you when you know you're not that way. And that's why Ben Franklin is such a good example, because he would give the image that he was trying to portray when he was in politics, when he was in this, but yet he was a very approachable. He was very himself. So it's very interesting for us to be us and not portray to be this person who knows it all, who has a perfect sense of virtuous, a virtue, really. We're not tempered. We are working on that. So in positive psychology, and it's a protective trait. It's going to help you. And again, all the excesses, when you're off the track, if you exercise temperance, you become a person that can fight temptation. You become a person that can really take a step back and say, whoa, I was going on the wrong place. Now, temperance is associated, right? The strengths associated with temperance. This is what it is. There are 4 of them. First one is mercy. Those who exercise temperance, they really, because mercy, it tempers hatred and anger. When you exercise forgiving, when you exercise giving the other person a chance, not judging so hard, not being vengeful, right? How many times we want to just be vengeful? So how many times somebody does something to us, we immediately want to, I hope we're not, but how many times maybe in our lives somebody does something to us and we immediately think of retaliation, immediate retaliation, or somebody that has maybe they shine more than we do. We want to throw a rock or maybe belittle their work, so it seems that they don't have what we have. We're better than them. So once we're merciful and we say, let's give them a second chance. Let me try to understand their work. Let me try to be this person who really is an easier person than that rock that some people want to be. Again, mercy tempers hatred and anger. Once you forgive, so much easier to give people, allow people to be who they are. It makes you a person that doesn't carry the hate, that doesn't carry that jealousy, right? That's the first, mercy. Second strength associated with temperance, humility and modesty. You know what? You don't have, when you exercise temperance, you don't have to put yourself to seek the spotlight all the time. You don't have to try to be someone more special than you truly are. It's really about, you look at yourself, you know who you are, and you don't try to portray a different image. I'm going to bring this to some people that maybe they're knowledgeable, maybe they even have some charisma, but they're so insistent. I'm not talking about persistent, I'm saying insistent. They insist on showing how good they are and how popular they are. And some people, they need to be on the spotlight because they need others to really affirm who they are. And they know they're not that. So they're getting a wrong affirmation. They're getting something that they're not really true. And that's just, oh my goodness. And in a psychological point of view, I think that's causing so much more harm than good, because they're not even accepting who they truly are. They're just really the complete opposite of temperance. They just want the spotlight on them. They want to be in every single TV show and every single event, and every single podcast and every single. Why? Because they want to be on the spotlight. That goes against everything that humility and modesty teaches us. That's not to say that a knowledgeable person shouldn't really be spreading what they know. We're talking about their own feelings of, I need to show who I am. And that is really interesting, because temperance, right, is that line where you don't need this. You really, you don't need to be on the spotlight. Your work speak for itself. Your actions, again, actions speak for themselves. You don't have to be so forceful to, again, shove that in people's throat to show them how good you are, or how good you know you're not, but you want people to see that you are. Remember, humility tempers arrogance. I love this. And all this material I learn, okay? Nothing is mine. All of this, I do my research. But humility tempers arrogance. It tempers that kind of person that is a know-it-all. And who likes a know-it-all? Oh my goodness. It's really annoying. And we have to grow from this. If that's you, if I have to stop after here this show and say, oh, where am I falling on all of those categories? And I have to bring this to my own life. Am I being arrogant? Am I being unforgiving? Third, self-control. Temperance has to do with self-control. Regulate what you feel, what you do. Being disciplined, understanding. I have to be here at 8:30. I'm going to wake up and be here at 8:30, even though my face looks all crazy and I just woke up and you probably have sheet marks still. But it's discipline. Temperance is that middle ground to say, okay, you determined yourself to do this. Maybe my emotion is not well. I didn't wake up very happy, but you know what? It's not going to get out of hand. I'm going to bring myself and do what I have to do. So self-control is really knowing that things could get out of hand. You might be not have the discipline to do what you do, but then you're going to control yourself and say, look, I have to get myself together. How many of you have heard that phrase, right? Get yourself together. That's really what we're talking about, self-control. Get yourself together. Control your thoughts, your actions, your emotions. And you can, as long as you want to, and you really take a look and say, let me exercise temperance. And the last one is prudence. Taking care of what you say and what you do. That has everything to do. That's a strength associated with, again, temperance. It's really not taking undue risks. You have to be careful what you say, because everything you say, every action will have a reaction. We know this in Spiritism, we learn this all the time. Every decision you make has a consequence, and you might regret if you don't exercise prudence. And Jesus has taught prudence. Jesus has said, have the prudence. You have to, you can be among the snakes, but make sure you have the anti-venom with you. You see, it's beautiful, because we think of Jesus as, well, he was a perfect human being who exercised perfect tolerance, yet he was prudent. He was firm. He knew where he was walking. He knew what kind of people he was dealing with. Being good does not mean that you have to be silly and you have to allow people to do what they want with you. And being prudent does not say this person may intoxicate me. They may contaminate me with their anger, with their words, yet I'm going to exercise tolerance and be near them and listen to all their toxic words. No, that's imprudence. Prudence says, I have to be guarded. And prudence is exactly what Jesus has taught us. Be careful where you're going. Be careful who you walk with. Be careful what you're listening to. Examine everything. Kardec has something to say about that as well, correct? Examine everything. Paul of Tarsus has said the same thing. Retain what is good. So be prudent. Prudence is a strength completely connected to temperance. So in positive psychology, we're going to know that mercy, humility, prudence, self-control, all of these are tied to temperance. And spiritism, we know, and we know very well, that being a good spiritist is recognized by their moral transformation. So you need to exercise all those factors. You need to be humble. You need to be prudent. You need to have self-control. You need to be forgiving. All of those things. Look how beautiful psychology and spirituality can really get together, right? Spiritism is psychology. It is all of this. It's the human behavior. It's how we act, how we do, how we think. So in the efforts, again, being a spiritist, the efforts, it's not about dominating all your bad instincts. It's about what you're doing to dominate them. Are you trying? Are you really trying hard? So friends, I wanted to finish this good morning to you, of course. Morning coffee for the soul. We're talking about Ben Franklin's 13th virtue. Today, we're talking about the very first virtue, which is temperance. And let's exercise that. How about this week? We really look at ourselves and say, where am I exercising temperance? Where am I letting it go? Where am I not putting this to work in my life? And again, when you don't exercise these virtues, it's going against your efforts to become, to dominate your bad instincts, as we know a spiritist, a true spiritist to be. So let's try. Friends, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you all of those who are coming after. And Marilda's here saying hello to you too. And again, I'll figure this out. I'll put it on Kardec Radio as well. But again, next week, we'll be here with Ben's second virtue. And again, Ben Franklin didn't say that he had all these virtues. He knew that he needed to exercise all these virtues and be aware and really check at the end of the day, at the end of the week. So let's check at the end of the week how we're doing on temperance. And let's try all of them and see where we fall on each of those virtues. Kisses to you all. God bless. Have an amazing Sunday. And I hope you're all here next week as well so we can talk about Ben's second virtue. Thank you, everyone.